Here's the news. A thaw is on the way, but it's frost again tonight in many parts. And direct from Manchester, we've air pictures of the great lorry convoys still stranded in the Pennines. The Lords' debate on artificial insemination by donor, a government inquiry, our parliamentary correspondent reports. In the Commons, the two-day defence debate has opened. The leaders of the TUC have condemned the Cohen report. Sir Winston Churchill, the final bulletin. At the Old Bailey, Mr. Justice Donovan has begun his summing up in the Brighton conspiracy trial. The weather news is that a slow thaw is on the way. But tonight it's freezing again in many areas, and road traffic over more than half of England is still halted by snow and ice. Many villages are isolated, and some are reported to be running short of food. For a picture of what it's been like in the north, Michael Hancock reports on film from our Manchester studios.
Life in the north is standstill in Menzies. It's caused by drifts like these near Whitby. This is the first film to reach us from the Yorkshire Wolds. And further south, yesterday's story is repeated as our cameraman Cliff Summers found when he flew 50 feet above the blocked Manchester to Sheffield Woodhead Road. The drivers here have abandoned their vehicles and struggled through chest-high drifts to the nearest inn, and they've been there since Monday. Some farms and villages are still cut off. The other Sheffield Road, the Snake Pass, is still blocked, and the only way over is by covering 70 tortuous miles, and that's twice the normal distance. And now for a look at the same road, but on foot. This is looking towards Woodhead. On the other side of the Pennines there's Yorkshire, but you can't get there. This morning brought out volunteers, properly equipped, to search for the cars, lorries and sheep still embedded in the snow high on the hills. The queues of vehicles trapped in the jam look more like part of a city scene than a moorland view. It goes on, but these lorry drivers have to wait for the thaw and the snow ploughs. Today's bright weather has brought an improvement, but many villages are still isolated almost everywhere. Some of the most treacherous roads brought about by the blizzards were near the Lake District. Here on the Stainmore Road, the invitation to stop became Hobson's choice for very many. Drivers left their vehicles and made their way down from the moors, 1,200 feet above the sea, down to the village of Brough, to a still white but a more sheltered world.
But with the rapid thaw in the south and east Anglia, flooding has become the main trouble. One of the rivers that's been flooding surrounding land is the Waveney. The Waveney Valley floods, the worst since 1947, put large areas under 2 feet of water or more in Suffolk and along the Norfolk border. Hundreds of acres of grazing land are flooded. Some roads were impassable. One at Homersfield was under 3 to 6 feet of water, and this was Bungay. At Beccles, the yacht station was inundated. Parts of some riverside houses became unusable. The Thames, too, has been overflowing its banks. And over now to Buckinghamshire, where we'll see the effects of this on Datchet and Eton. The golf course at Datchet and other low-lying areas were covered as the Thames began to slip over its banks at places. The level was still rising slowly. The playing fields of Eton, underwater. The Thames Conservancy have issued a warning of extensive flooding if heavy rain should follow the thaw. The Lords are debating artificial insemination by donor. For a report, over to our Westminster studio and Conrad Vosbach.
Well, this has been a fascinating debate in which we've heard from 2 archbishops, bishops, lawyers, doctors, judges, and the whole overriding impression I've had has been of a great conflict of opinion about artificial insemination and overriding uncertainty. The Archbishop of Canterbury urged that artificial insemination should be illegal. The Archbishop of York said that though it was thoroughly wrong, he wouldn't make it an illegal offence. Though artificial insemination, he said, by a donor without a husband's consent should be grounds for divorce. And then our judge's view, Lord Justice Denning, he said that if AID was done openly, it was not an offence. If it was done secretly, it was in fact criminal conspiracy. And later we heard Lord Kilmuir say that at present it was not a criminal offence. Well, where the speakers did, I think, come closer together was when they wanted more information. And also there seemed to be general agreement that artificial insemination donors should in some way be registered or controlled. Most of the speakers I heard were against artificial insemination to some extent or other, but many of them expressed their sympathy and understanding with women who desperately wanted children and whose husbands couldn't give them a child. Finally, the Lord Chancellor, Lord Kilmuir, said the government was impressed with the view that AID without the husband's consent is a grave offence against the marriage. The government would set up an interdepartmental committee to examine what the existing practices were and what should be the legal consequences. And now I'm returning you to the newsroom at Alexandra Palace.